Let's begin this lesson, by opening up characterparagraph.ai in your work folder. Up to this point, we have put text in boxes. We have put it into unique types of shapes. We have even stuck it on a path. But what we haven't done is actually format the text. So we're going to talk about two things, character formatting and paragraph formatting. But the first thing we're going to do after you get it open, we're going to change our workspace. Go up to the word Essentials on the pull-down menu and go down to Typography. Now, this is going to give us the stuff we need to get the job done. Now, you will notice down here, we have a character and a paragraph panel. That's where we're going to be working. I'm going to move the character panel out so you can see it. And we're going to click this button right here. That's Options. Don't forget Options. And anytime you see the word Show, you should go ahead and click it and see what's there. We get more stuff. Andy likes stuff. This is what we're going to do. We're going to work on manipulating information in this area here. We're then going to save this document at the end of this lesson. Make sure you save it. And then we're going to work on this area over here in paragraph styles. So let's get started. Number one, Myriad Pro, regular, 12-point, everything, that's the default. I don't want the default for my text. So what do? There's actually two ways we can do this now. If I pick up my type tool, which would be predictable, and come over here and click in that box and press Control-A, select all the text. Any changes we make over here, of course, would change, but you don't have to do that. Let's go back to our selection tool. Select that box just as a container if you want to make global changes. Now, the first thing I want to do is make global changes. I don't like Myriad Pro. So with the box selected, not the type tool, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to get right here and I'm going to decide I want a different font than what I have. Now, if you look at the fonts, let me do a quickie here. If you see the letter O, what you're looking at is an open type font. They are the best of the best. They are the newest evolution of font technologies. They are great for four-color presses. They handle ligatures. They have bigger glyph sets. We could do a whole lesson series just on open type fonts. They're great. So if you got them, you should use them if you're going to press especially. If you see the double T, True Types. True Type fonts are getting a whole lot better than they were, but we typically still use True Type fonts for things like headlines, things that really don't have a lot of text you have to read, and for the internet, things like that. But you can use them for anything you want. That's probably mostly where they're used. If you see the letter A, that's a PostScript font. Now, PostScript is actually below OpenType now. PostScript used to be king. Everything now is OpenType, but they're still great fonts. If you also see that little diamond over here on some of these, what that means is there are other types of that font, different styles. Like Myriad Pro, you got condensed, italics, all kinds of stuff going on here. Understand it takes about 2 to 3 years to make one font because of all the math involved. Do you ever go into Microsoft Word and press the I key for italics? Okay, you can do that in Word, obviously. There is no I key in this program because if you italicize a font, you're forcing it to bend over to italicize it, and it ruins it for readability. The person that made Myriad Pro, literally every time they came up with a new idea for a style, rewrote the font in terms of the math to make it look good. It's all about math, unfortunately. And it can take 2 or more years to make one single font. That's pretty impressive when you think about it. Let's go up here and look. And if you're like me, you got a zillion fonts that you can choose from. I'm going to go into Adobe Garamond Pro. I like that font. That's a good font. It's a reading font. It's a serif font. And I'm going to go regular. Now notice it changed it because we have the box selected and we're doing a global. Now that's the only global I want to do. So we need to go back into selection. So let's go ahead and just actually double click in the box and it'll give you your type tool. Now number one, things like these are subheadings. Adobe Illustrator, multiple artboards. Those are subheadings, and I would like those to look a little bit more impressive. Let's work on the one down here. Now, when you're working with character, you have to have something selected. So if I triple click 1, 2, 3, I can select that one. That's considered a paragraph, one paragraph. And I'm going to stick with Garamond Pro. Now, this is not a class on why you use fonts. It's how you use them. But understand when you're doing a document, you shouldn't use more than 2 or 3 fonts, according to the rules. So I'm going to stick with Garamond Pro, but I'm going to change the styles. I would like to make that maybe into a bold italic. Let's see what that looks like. It doesn't look too bad. So I like that. But I want that to be bigger. So I'll go ahead and change the point size from 12 to, let's try 14. Don't want to go too crazy with it, but I do want to make it bigger because it is a subheading. And so, well, I like that. Now, what about the text body itself here? Well, let's select this paragraph. Now, it's 1, 2, 3 clicks, you get a paragraph. Paragraphs are defined by the Enter key. When you press that Return key or the Enter key, it takes you to the next line. That gives you a paragraph by definition. Now, I'll leave the text alone in terms of size, although the common size today for reading is 11 point. Over here we have leading. Now, what's that? Leading is a space between the lines, and its default size is 14.4 on a 12 point, which is 120% of the size of the font. If I go to 10, let me just change this for a second. 10 is an easy number to see a division on, or a multiplication. You see it says 12, that's 120%. Now, what does that mean, though? That means that the white space between each one of the lines, the leading part, is basically 120% between each line, which is 20%. So that gives me 20% white space between each line. And the people that have figured this out, and that's been the standard for over 150 years, feel that's the best amount of space for the human eye to be able to read and then come back again and read and come back again. But if I do this and select it, I can change it, obviously, do anything I want. So if I double it, say to about 24, in a sense, I'm double spacing. When I do tests in that at university, I'll have my students always double space their papers because it gives me the ability to write notes and things on the inside. But in the old days on a typewriter, you press the Return key twice. We don't have to do that anymore. You change the leading. Let's go ahead and 1, 2, 3. Let's go ahead and change that back, not to 14.4, but to auto. Now, what auto means is every time I change the font size, let's take it back to 12, it will change that number. Now, here you have kerning, and here you have tracking. Now, with tracking and kerning is changing the space just between 2 letters by selecting. I don't want to do that. I think I want to spread out the multiple artboards up here. So I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, select that, and let's do a little bit of tracking right here. Now, watch the words multiple artboards as I increase. I'll use that little up arrow right there. More space between each one of the words. And that, in terms of marketing and design and communication, can help it become more noticeable because it's slightly different. But you wouldn't want to do that a lot on regular text because it'd become more difficult to read. Now, real quick, we do have a button here that makes the text taller, distorts it. This one makes it thicker, left and right, distorts it. This one sets the baseline. So if I take a word like students, just to show you this, I can raise it or I can lower it, like a superscript or a subscript. This tilts it, it rotates it. So if I go back to multiple artboards and again show you this, I don't want to do that. So I'm going to take that back. Now down here you have some set buttons like all caps or small caps. I do like small caps. That's kind of nice. And I think I'll leave that on for the heading, but I wouldn't do that to reading text because it'd be impossible to read. You do have, let me select a word down here again. You have a superscript and a subscript, like the chemical formula H2O for water. The H, the 2 would be subscript, and then the O, H2O, superscript, subscript. You have an underline and a strike through. You also have the ability to change how you are going to spell check. I am in the United States, English USA. If I were in the UK, it would be English UK. You get the idea. So we have the ability to change anything that we want by using the character panel. But what about the paragraph panel? Well, let's check that out. First of all, I'm going to go to the word typography as a workspace and say reset. And that'll take our character panel right back where it was. Let's pull out paragraphs. Again, if you check this button right here, and it says hide or show, if it says show, by all means, look at them. So what we have here is a whole bunch of stuff. Now, real quick, let's see what we can do here. Big difference between character and paragraph panels in this respect. The paragraph panel requires that you be in a paragraph because the smallest unit you can change is a paragraph. The character panel requires when you change something that it be selected because you can change things as small as a single character. So for example, if I go into this paragraph right here, Now, all I'm doing is clicking. You can see my cursor blinking right there. That's all I have to do. And if I come up here, because I don't like the formatting of left justified. Left is considered the easiest to read, but it's considered more of a casual writing style. We have center. See, it'll center that paragraph. Don't have to have it selected. Right justify it. I want to format it. I think I'm going to justify it. Now that would be justify here with left, the last line left. You can see it right down here. We can do this one for center, this one for right, and that's just the last line, or force justify everything, which doesn't usually work. I'm going to justify last line left. Justified text to the eye is considered more formal. So a lot of times when I'm doing books that I'm writing and they're on serious subjects, like Adobe Illustrator is a very serious subject, I will justify the text because it helps create the mood of being a little bit more serious. So I like that. What's left? Well, we do have the ability to push the margins on the left or the right. So down here, and all I am is in that paragraph, if I pump it up a little bit, watch that left margin. That's kind of neat. Pulls it in a little bit on that side. And I kind of like that too. So I'm going to leave that alone. The right wouldn't make sense because there's nothing here to judge it against visually. If I moved it in on the right, I might as well just move the whole thing in. So I'll leave that one alone. This one is indent the first line of every paragraph, and you can watch that first line up there. As I do this, it brings it in just a little. Let's go ahead and try that too. We'll leave that on. This one here is spacing before, and this one here is spacing after. Now, what I would like, for example, for this up here, I want a little bit more space down here, and maybe a little bit more space between these two. It's up to you. But let's just do the one underneath. So that's space after right here. And if I click here, as you can see, it moves it down just a little bit. Not a lot. You don't want to go too much here, but just enough. Now, the other one might be a little bit of space between each one of the paragraphs. So I'll select this paragraph, again, the big one, and I'll go ahead and do space after here. Just enough for people to see, well, that's a paragraph. There's space there. That is just good design when you write. Make it easy for me to read it. If you don't want me to read it, why are you doing it? So doing things like this helps. Now you have a hyphenization option here. We don't have any hyphenated words up here, I don't think. So it's not going to change anything. But if you turn that off, it would prevent the hyphenization of the words. In a lot of cases, that's not really a good thing because hyphenated words, although they're harder to read, help balance out the lines up here. So what have we done so far? Well, we've done character and paragraph formatting work on only one paragraph. But we've done a lot of things. Changed the font, changed the sizes, changed the subheadings, changed the kerning, changed the tracking of the text, spacing after, done a lot of things. What we're going to use in the next lesson is this information to gain control over the rest of the text. So don't forget what I said. We need to save this. Let's go up to the word File on the pull-down menu and go down to Save As. Let's give it a new name. The name of this document was Character Paragraph. Let's just do this. Append styles to the end. That's all. Click Save. Remember where you saved it, obviously. Go ahead and power through this. Just click OK. And there you go. We are now ready for the next lesson, so on to the next.